And I think that is why that music appealed to me so much, because it scratched that itch of like, oh, I'm so dark and edgy and I don't fit in with my family. But then getting to go to a show and seeing how accepting and nice people are, like you fall in a mosh pit, people are going to pick you up. It's like, okay, well, these are my people. That they care about people whether they know them or not.
That's my friend Corey Stafford. He's a former championship barista with a love of all things coffee. He's the softest, hardcore guy you know, with a love of poetry and deep cultural ties to Tumblr.
For me, it's more about the emotion and kind of getting it out. So in that sense, it's more like a surgery, because it's trying to find those words that stirred whatever feeling in me I want to convey or get out of my body and onto something tangible. So to me, that's what poetry had always been, was a way to physically interact with the feelings in my body.
My name is Molly Perry, and I'm a graphic designer at Tennessee Tech University. I know lots of talented, funny, creative people, and on this podcast, we're going to be meeting a lot of them. If you're wondering why this podcast is more than a month late, yes, it's because Trump won. Without further ado, this is episode 14 of Molly Made Friends. Thank you for joining me. Who is this? Who am I speaking to right now?
Yeah, I'm just a voice in the void here. So I'm Corey Stafford. I've known Molly for a little bit. I don't think we really met and hung out until community college.
Which, a little bit, is 8 years ago.
Oh my God. So I've known Molly for a while.
We did go to high school together, but we didn't run in the same circles.
That is true, yeah. High school was a weird time, but we can go into that a little later if it comes up. But I did run for state representative, I believe. I can't remember the actual position. It was like not the big representative seat, but one of the lower seats. I think it was for the 32nd district is what?
Something like that.
Something like that. It was great. It was, did that with Stukes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was the one who encouraged me to run.
Shout out Michael Stukesbury.
Yeah, shout out. Haven't talked to him in a while. But he thought it would be funny if I ran because I had an interest in politics. He thought it'd be fun to have me run as the Democrat because Kent Calfee had effectively blown it out of the water every time because, red.
Yeah.
And the guy who had been running as Democrat was doing it just to have someone oppose Calfee. And the guy who was running said, if someone else takes these reins, I'm going to not run. And that's what happened. I was the only Democrat that ran. So I was 20, but it worked out where I could still be elected because my birthday was prior to the actual election.
Okay.
So, I'm a dumb 20-year-old working at a coffee shop and a grocery store and going to community college trying to run for representative.
I found the old YouTube video you made talking about why you were running. You look like a baby, and you sound like a baby.
That still exists?
Yeah, it does.
Was that one Stukes had put out, or was that one Jack had put out?
I mean, it was from Corey Stafford's YouTube channel, so...
Oh, my God. I'm running for Tennessee State Representative because I think that people in my generation should have more of a voice in what happens in government. A lot of people have this idea that the members of my generation are lazy and don't care about anything.
but a lot of us care about a lot of the things that are happening in our country and in our state. So for that reason, I'm going to try and be the face and the voice of that young generation for the county of Roane County in Tennessee.
I had forgotten about that.
You were in the cafeteria at Roane State, which I think I exclusively ate chicken tenders and fries from there. I don't think I ever tried a single other thing. And it was good.
That was kind of consistently the best thing they had was the chicken tenders and fries.
Yeah.
I think I was on that same train. Like, I tried a few things, but those chicken tenders and fries just hit.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things happened in that cafeteria.
Yeah. Super Smash Club.
Yeah, one of your previous guests, Corey and Jack, with the Smash Club that Corey and Cole put on. I wish I was there to witness the story of Jack getting punched or something.
Yeah.
I didn't witness that, and I don't know if I'd even heard it until I listened to that episode.
Yeah, he got beat up for punching a guy in a video game. So a guy punched him in real life.
Well, video games cause violence, so we should have seen this coming.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was actually what you were running on. That was your main thing.
Was it really?
No.
You could tell me literally any stance that I stood on back then. I'd be like, damn, that's crazy, probably.
No, you did not run on that. Basically, your video lasted all of 30 seconds.
Naturally.
And you basically said, young people do care about this country, and I'm here to prove that. Boom, mic drop. It was cute.
I guess that's kind of based.
And what's kind of crazy, I actually worked that election, which, talk about fucking traumatizing. I worked that election, and I was there on election day to watch Donald Trump become president, and I lost all hope. But anyway, people were coming in and they were voting for you, and it was crazy. And at the end of the day, I was like, my friend has almost 4,000 votes. Because I honestly did not expect that, but...
Yeah, and I attribute that to probably party loyalty for most of it.
Yeah.
But there was some light campaigning of, talking to people at Roane State about it. And at the grocery store I worked at, a lot of people there were like, yeah, we'll vote for you. That's awesome. Which, that store has a union, so naturally they...
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, a lot of people there probably do vote pretty blue. And I think we talked to some other random people, but we didn't go to any events, like any debates or anything, which, thank God, I would have made an ass of myself, because I did not know anything about anything, and still don't. But...
And if you did, you don't remember.
Yeah. That... How long ago was that again?
8 years ago.
8 years ago? Oh, God. Full disclosure, I guess I should add, I have the worst memory probably of anyone you'll have talked to.
Hey, that's cool.
So you can make up stories and I'll go along with it.
That's kind of fun. But speaking of the coffee shop inside a grocery store, did you start working there in high school? It
was either during my senior year or right after I graduated. I started at just the grocery store, bagging, getting buggies, stuff like that. But I told them I had interest of moving to the coffee shop if they ever had an opening. And it was like a month after I got hired. They're like, hey, we need someone, and you're the only one who's expressed interest, so go get an apron. And so that was in 2014.
And it kind of shaped your destiny.
Yeah.
Like a large amount.
Because
you worked for them for 6 years?
I think total 8, actually.
Whoa. Cool.
It did. It kind of sparked my interest in coffee, and I got into specialty coffee and go to some events not related to the place I worked, but working there, getting me interested in those things. I went to Specialty Coffee Association events.
Like conventions?
Mm-hmm. Where people would show off new products, and they'd have tastings for, coffee cocktails or just different roasts. And that was a lot of fun. And I wish I could do more of that now, but costs money and time.
Yeah.
Which, as I get older, the faster time seems to pass. But yeah, it started in the grocery store, coffee shop, and then moved here to Cookeville and worked at one of the big boy stores. And that was the really formative years of working there that formed a lot of my opinions of working there.
Because I'd say that working at the one inside the grocery store, you're not really bombarded with people like you were at the Cookeville location.
For sure, yeah.
Just like sometimes I would drive by and I would see the line
out in the road.
I would say, "Oh God, poor Corey. I know he's there. I see his car."
So they built a second one here after I left.
Yeah.
But during my time here, we were one of the busiest stores in the area, which makes sense. It's right off the interstate. It's a college town. Yeah, it was hellacious. Which kind of worked in my favor, actually, because the reason I left the first time was I had got a job related to my degree.
Chemical engineering.
Right, chemical engineering, Kimmy, baby. Won best darn major every year I was here.
Aww.
Yeah. Chemical engineering was a lot of fun, and looking back on it, I think for me I just enjoyed doing schoolwork. I like doing math, and engineering has a lot of math problems in it.
You're a very smart person.
Well, I disagree with you, but I appreciate...
You are. I mean, I was kind of cyber stalking you low-key to, gather intel before this podcast.
Oh, God.
And, I just see what you've been up to, and it's cool. And all the things that you know.
So, at Roan State, I had originally planned on doing psychology because I wanted to do something to help people in a direct way. And that my life got thrown off course from that when one of my girlfriend's dads in high school convinced me that psychology was a soft science and I should do something more hard science related. And he's a great guy. I'm not trying to bash him or anything, but I think I'm satisfied with the course my life took, changing from psychology to engineering. But that made me decide, okay, well, I guess I'll do pre-engineering at Roan State. I moved to Cookeville with a girlfriend, and things went sour, which it affected me quite a bit and kind of exacerbated the depression that had kind of been building for years at that time. I think it was during my first year that we broke up, and that was where my extracurricular activities went from studying to playing pool and drinking a lot.
At Players?
Yeah, at Players. A lot of good memories there. Had a guy threaten to kill me once. I don't think I did anything to him, but maybe his story's different. But I think I still did okay for somebody who didn't really have the facilities to cope well being, officially alone with, other than friends, of course, but, parental support systems further away. And I don't know, it was the first time I was actually out on my own being here. So I didn't have good coping mechanisms. So my studies suffered, but I did graduate with the degree. I did fuck up by not doing an internship.
Oh.
Because I actually had an interview for an internship, and I met with somebody. They wanted to do an interview, and we set it up for the next day. and I overslept. I panicked, threw on a shitty button-up shirt and some pants, and waddled my way over to the library. And they're like, you missed it. We're sorry. We'll be back. You're more than welcome to try again. And it was at that point I was like, okay, fuck it. I just want to finish my degree and do the job hunt.
I need to get out of here.
Yeah. I still did enjoy learning and still did enjoy classes, but I think I was getting burnt out and jaded due to life circumstances at the time.
And, like, not to mention, I mean, I understand the privilege that I had with my job during college. Like, I got to work from home, and I had, like, a part-time job doing graphic design work. But you're one of the friends that I think of whenever I think of, having to go to work and manage school. But, like, your job, it always felt so intense to me and very demanding. And it felt like, like my other friends that were, like, waitressing or working retail or something, where like, you're on your feet all day and it's very physically demanding. I mean, it's always been very impressive to me. So
I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. I think it's kind of something I look back on and don't give the credit where I think it's due for something like that. And thankfully, when it came to like group projects and stuff, a lot of the students that I had to work with during that, they were very understanding of having to work around me having to work because I had to close because classes were during the day and I'd have to go to work in the evening. I do think having to work and go to school, especially in a service industry, like you're saying, being on your feet for anywhere from 4 to 6 hours after going to classes, it's a challenge. I don't know. I guess I just appreciate you saying that because I never gave myself that credit.
Yeah. I mean, I could always tell that you were exhausted. But like I said,
yeah, you look like shit, man.
No, I mean, it was honestly, sometimes it would be hard to hang out because you were always so busy or you were just so tired.
I'm a terrible person when it comes to making plans with people anyway.
Nah.
What?
Nah.
Nah. But like, in theory now it should be easier as an adult who just works, an 8 to 5 because 9 to 5s don't exist anymore.
Mine's 8 to 4:30 for some reason. Don't know why. That's what it is at Tech. Don't know.
That's weird.
Yeah. Anyway, continue.
Anyway, it should be easier now as an adult to make time to hang out with people, but it feels almost just as hard as it did being in college and working and studying or, playing pool. I wish I had made more time for social interaction, but at the same time, I don't know if things would have worked out in the same way because it's like that stupid triangle meme that people...
There is some truth to that.
Yeah,
you have to pick two.
Yeah, social life and school or school and I can't remember what the sleep. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Do you ever find, because I feel like I'm pretty guilty of this, whenever I'm down mentally, I tend to isolate myself really hard. Do you do that? Do you find that being around people rejuvenates you, or is it the opposite?
I think it can go both ways for me. It's like the whole extrovert versus introvert thing, and that's something I've never known where I land on that spectrum.
Me neither.
Yeah, because sometimes hanging out with people does make, my shitty mood better, but then there are other times it could be the same group of people, my shitty mood gets worse, and it's not because of the people, it's just I should have spent that time melting at my desk at home instead of trying to be social.
Yeah, I get that. So I think that for the most part, I am an extrovert in the sense that I feel like I can pretty much talk to anyone. And I do enjoy talking with people. I mean, I'm a podcaster, for Pete's sake. But I do feel sometimes, like, whenever my friends leave or I go back to my car after, like, hanging out at a restaurant or something, I feel like Andy's toys. Like, in Toy Story, where he, is in the room, so I just gotta die for a little bit. And stand perfectly still and stare at the wall. Or, like, walk in, sit on the couch, and then look up and realize I've been there for 20 minutes. Like, okay. Well, let's go.
I can kind of get that, and I think maybe this is unfortunate, but I think as I've gotten older, I do kind of have I guess, what would it be, social anxiety of, like, I go and interact with friends, and then after that, this isn't every time, this is just, like, sometimes this happens, I'll do the overthinking thing of, like, did I say something that made me sound like a jackass, or did I upset someone? And that makes it worse if, like, I was already in a bad headspace before hanging out with friends, and then I leave that event or interaction, and I'm like, man, I suck ass, No.
No, I do get that, though. There are things that I've said out loud that they kind of haunt me years later.
Yeah, I love laying awake at night thinking of some dumb thing I did or said back in, like, middle school.
Yeah. But to finish up talking about chemistry.
Oh, yeah.
You have a question from the audience.
Oh.
Okay.
A question.
Chained to Mars asks,
Mm-hmm.
do you wish you picked something other than Chem E?
This question keeps me up at night sometimes.
Oh. What could have been?
Exactly. It's a complicated answer, but I think the answer is yes and no. I think I look back on going to college and being in Chem E, thankful for my experiences and the people I got to meet, and I'm currently satisfied with the direction my life is heading. So for that reason, I wouldn't want to change it, right? But on the other side of that, I do fantasize about what would have been different had I switched to something like math or computer science, because I did have interest in those things and I did enjoy math a lot, but I just felt like I was already too far in Chem E, and I wanted to be done, so I never switched. I never did a minor or anything. So official answer, yes and no. And if I did switch, it would have been math or computer science.
It's crazy how we all have this obsession with time. Like, I've been here too long, or I've spent too much time here, so I need to stay here. When, in actuality, I'm sure, like, looking at it now, that probably wasn't true. Like, I mean, it's not for me. Like, I'm thinking about whenever I changed my major, I had that exact same thought. Because I changed it at the end of my junior year, and I was going to be a high school history teacher and all this bullshit. And I fully had a panic attack and said that I can't do this.
Like, when you switched, you had the panic attack, or
before?
Oh,
because I was about to start my final year, and the thought of that solidifying everything and getting the degree and it being over, I was like, I can't do this to myself. And so I changed my major, and I ended up staying in college for 6.5 years.
I kind of get that, because as it was approaching, the graduation time, I was relieved that it was so close, but at the same time, I was panicking because it's like, oh, life's about to get real.
Yeah.
And
this is it now.
Yeah, there's almost the feeling of like a safety net when you're in school, but once you're out of it, it's like, okay, well, now you have this degree that you've sunk this money into or borrowed from whoever, and now you have to go use that or not. And a part of me wishes I would have switched, because I would have been satisfied being a lifelong student.
Me too.
Yeah,
I love school.
It's satisfying. Doing that work is like, is it meaningful in any like societal sense? No, I guess not, but it's fun to do and get grades back, and it's
a form of self-improvement too.
Mm-hmm.
Gaining knowledge.
Yeah, in the garage with my Lamborghinis, but it's my knowledge I'm here to talk to you about.
That is an old meme. Wow.
I'm practically a boomer.
You are technically a millennial, right?
Yes, a year before.
Ew.
Oh, what are you, Gen Z?
Yeah. 98.
Yeah. Is there really that much of a difference between somebody born in 95 versus 98 or 99?
I think that depends. Because, okay.
On the upbringing, I would argue. The parents involved.
Imagine the difference between, a 19 or 20-year-old and, a 23 and 24-year-old. Okay, I lived with that crazy-ass lady from Florida.
I forgot about this.
She was 27, and we were all
more mature than her.
21, yeah. And the difference there, we had almost none of the same interests. It was crazy. And that's just 7 years difference. But now that I'm almost 27 myself, I'm 26, I find that it's easier for me to get along with older people in comparison to people who are younger than me. Dost thou agree?
I think... Oh, gosh. Well, I don't know, because when I was leaving my apartment to start my journey here, there was a child outside of my door just staring at me. And I felt bad because I went to open the door and I flung my keys, and I was like, son of a bitch. And then I opened the door all the way, and there was just this kid standing there, and I was like, I'm sorry. And he scurried over to his bike, and he was like, hey, watch this. And he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything cool. He got on his bike and rode down to the dumpster and back, and I was like, that's awesome, man. He had to be 5 or 6.
Was he out there by himself?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's probably friends with one of the family's kids in our unit, because there's a family with 2 little girls next to us and a family with little boys above us. So he was probably waiting for them, but then I walked out and he was like, oh, I gotta show this dude my sick nothing. He didn't do a wheelie. He didn't...
But, for a 5-year-old, that's doing the damn thing.
He knows how to ride a bike.
Riding that bike. I can't ride a bike.
It didn't have training wheels either, so I guess that is pretty impressive.
He's doing better than me.
So I got along with that kid.
It made me think of that scene in The Incredibles where Mr. Incredible's like, what?
Oh, and the
kid... What do you want? I don't know, something.
I did kind of feel like a grumpy old man, because I was like, I gotta fucking go, man. I don't have time to watch you not do a trick on this bike. But
really cute, though.
Yeah, he let me go after he followed me to my car on his bike, and he was like, don't back up yet, watch this. And he rode past me, and he hopped up on the curb and then rode down the little hill back into because there's kind of 2 parking lots and there's a curb. and it goes down into the other parking lot, and that's what he did. And I was like, that was sick, man.
Aww.
And then I got in my car and left. I didn't want to get trapped watching this kid ride on his bike. But I guess to go back to the question of, like, do I get along better with younger people or older people now? I think it for me, it goes either way. It really just depends on the human being. But as a general, I think I get along with both. It just kind of depends, because I've had a range of age groups in my circles, like my whole life, because I've had younger friends that I still keep up with and talk to, and then I've had older friends who, you know, they've kind of fallen by the wayside, probably because they were older and life happened when I was a little teenager, and they're like, you know, 20, 30 something.
Time to get married and have a child.
Yeah, and these were like online friends, but
I'm now an insurance salesman.
yeah, you playing Call of Duty with this shit-eating 14-year-old, and then he's got to go get a job selling shitty car insurance.
Yeah.
But I think now I lean more toward talking to older people, specifically like parents. Because, I don't know, I mean, the bar I hung out at in college was just a bunch of old heads playing pool. So I think it's because I'm old in my bones and body, and so they're more my speed. You know, old and slow, and I'm almost 30, so I'm slower.
You're not up for riding your bike to the dumpster and back.
Oh, no. I got to get new tires before I can do that on my bike.
What kinds of people work at a big coffee shop chain? Like, is it a little bit of everyone, or do you feel like certain kinds of people are drawn there and apply there?
I think generally it is a certain type of person. Specifically, that big coffee chain, I think it attracts a lot of, you know, left-leaning, emo goth people, gay people. It's like a bunch of emo kids and gay kids hanging out together. And, you know, sometimes they're both of those things.
Hipsters.
There is a place for some hipsters in there, too. But in the one here, actually...
well, typically in Cookeville, the hipster baristas work at
Poets. Yeah.
Or Soulcraft, which now Poets is significantly more lame, so I think it's...
Is there some lore there?
I think it might be slowly dying. I don't know. Like, it just doesn't have a soul anymore.
That's sad.
Yeah, like, every time I go in there, there's always, like, a Bible study happening. And one time when I was in there, do you remember when there were Nazis in front of Ralph's Donuts?
No.
Oh, brother.
No, I do not.
I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago, there was a drag show going on at Hicks Brewery, which no longer exists.
Was that by Ralph's?
Yeah, it was like right across the street.
Okay.
And it's where we had poster shows.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And there was a drag show happening there, and to protest, there were a bunch of, like, neo-Nazis that came out, and they were, like, legitimate fucking Nazis. Like, they had swastikas and everything, and a couple of them were from, like, the religious groups in this community. Like, one of them was a local preacher in town, and he was siding with the Nazis that drag queens are pedophiles and blah, 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 blah. That guy was in there one day, and I said, I don't want to be in here anymore.
Probably the same people that are going to be putting on the Christmas event now.
Probably. But you didn't hear that from me.
I mean, if this goes on the air, you're done for.
Yeah, my audience of 60 people will rat me out.
60 people? That's pretty good.
I know. And in total, I've apparently like 400 separate entities have listened to me.
That's badass.
Hell yeah.
Do you and you can edit this out if you want. Do you care once the episode comes out if I advertise it?
No, I don't care.
Okay, sweet.
Feel free.
Perfect. I also apologize because I feel like we've kind of been all over the place. I don't know if all of your episodes are...
It's pretty much, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
It's very conversational.
I was going to say, is there typically a lot of editing that goes in to make it more cohesive?
Sometimes. Not usually, though. It's pretty much just, yeah, talking with a friend.
Okay, perfect.
Have you gotten to a point where you can, like, pretty much tell immediately when you're going to have a rude customer experience? Are there customer stereotypes at these establishments?
Unfortunately, I think yes, and that it just writes itself. I mean, the Karen haircut can be real. Sometimes there's people with that haircut who are sweet and nice, but it's like you get the confirmation bias of you see the haircut come in, you're like, oh shit, is this gonna be a thing? It's like, oh yeah, of course. You know, I should have seen this coming as soon as she walked in the door. I think one of the biggest things I learned was that men suck. Men customers suck.
Because they don't listen.
That's just a man thing in general. But the like casual sexual harassment and like being rude to the like female employees, it never made sense to me, especially because I feel like that company, old heads might say otherwise. But I think before it was a lot of like hipster dudes that worked there, and then it kind of became more of a feminine, air quotes, job. And so,
well, according to a homeless veteran that would hang out in the Roan State Library whenever I worked there, every single person who works at Starbucks is homosexual. They only hire queers. That's why, Corey. He told me. And he found out online from a website that crashed our entire computer system.
At Roan State?
Yes.
Do you remember the website? Was it like a...
No, I don't.
Was this like QAnon type shit?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That checks out. I there are a lot of gay people that work there. I mean, I think the company presents itself as a left-leaning, progressive, accepting company. Obviously, I now think that is just a disguise.
Yes.
And a lot of people figure that out after they work there.
It is a enormous capitalist entity.
Yeah, it's just another meat grinder for people's souls and dreams. But
did you ever feel like protective of the girls that you worked with? Like, did you ever have to like step in?
I fantasized about it, but it never happened when I was the supervisor on duty.
So you could turn around and say, "Sorry about that, milady," and tip your fedora to her.
I mean, I did wear hats to work often, but...
You did?
Yeah, they were just baseball hats.
Oh, yeah, you did. Okay, yeah.
And it was a coffee hat, so I was allowed to wear it. But the crazy shit never happened when I was there, and it pissed me off. Because I was always like, man, I really wish I could tear into somebody just... Because, like, you work there for so long and people get under your skin for so long, it's like you want the excuse to lay
go
in.
off on somebody.
Yeah. And then it never happens. And
or you just get to clean up poopy bathrooms.
I didn't know we were going to talk about that. That pissed me off.
I don't remember the exact story. I just remember you having to clean up the shit apocalypse.
So, what happened that day, I I think it was after I graduated because I was working mornings at that point.
Nothing like morning explosive diarrhea.
Dude, so the reason it makes me mad is I should not have had to have cleaned it. Mm-hmm. We are supposed to call, they are supposed to call like a biohazard type.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Huh.
If you're an employee, you're not supposed to clean blood or feces or...
There could be some transference there.
Yes, exactly. And working in food, you're simply not supposed to. At least that is their policy. The store manager at that time, I guess, was not certain of that because, to her credit, she was a newer store manager at the time. But someone was like, hey, the men's bathroom smells awful. And I don't remember who went and looked, but I remember someone came back and they're like, there's shit. Like, on the floor, on the sink, on the trash can. And the store manager was like, who wants to clean it?
Oh, no.
And it was down to me and one other guy, and he was like, there's no way. And I was like, fuck, I guess I have to. Like,
that sucks.
And it was an endeavor. I think it probably took me almost 30 minutes. And I got to go on my break immediately after. And I think I was still smoking cigarettes at this time.
Hell, you'd need one after that.
I think, damn, it was either cigarettes or I was vaping. But I was pretty much like, I need to go have a smoke break. That was nasty. And it was some old guy who did it.
Yeah.
And the question was this malicious? I don't think so. I think he probably just made a mess on himself and then clearly in the bathroom
And then he was just too embarrassed.
Yeah. I mean, if it was me, I would either leave in shame of what I've done,
wow,
or I would offer to clean it.
That's what I would do. I would say, please, no one else go in there. Just show me where the janitorial supplies are, and I'll do it myself.
And, unless they tell me, oh, we call, like, a group for this, then I'd be like, okay, that they got it.
That would make me feel so bad. You gotta get a freaking hazmat team in here.
Well, look at it this way. You're not...
My explosive episode.
You're not making the worker's life any harder. It's somebody who gets paid to do that who gets to come do it.
Gosh. That sucks,
man.
I bet people were pooping in there a lot because it's a coffee shop.
Yeah, I was the main culprit, actually. I was known to be the resident pooper at work because I had a lot of stomach issues when I worked there.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I mean, I still do. I have been lactose intolerant for pretty much my whole life. And when I was working there, my shits were horrible. They were frequent. But ever since I left, it improved. Mm-hmm. Poo-poo time. And my therapist was like, it's probably stress related. Like,
yeah, honestly.
You had been slinging lattes for so long, and like, I was clearly burnt out by the end of my 8 years. Probably burnt out before that point. And after I left, like, I wouldn't say I have normal bowel movements, but I'm closer to than I was at that time.
I'm so glad you're almost regular. That's actually a really big deal.
Yeah.
It is for me. I used to have a lot of problems, and now, like, I just go like everyone else. I don't know what happened. Like, nothing changed. It just evened out over time.
Was it post-school? Like,
yeah.
Could be stress.
Honestly, yeah.
That
Probably.
Apparently that does wonders for your gut.
I also quit taking birth control because it made me feel insane.
Oh.
And originally I had gotten on birth control as a teenager because whenever I would get my period, I would honestly go to the bathroom for like 24 hours straight, to a point where I would have nothing left in my body. And even then, my body would make me feel like I have to, like, get it out. It was so bad.
Like, we're talking, like, you had to pee-pee poo-poo frequently when you were on your period.
Yes, so much so that, pre getting on birth control. And even then, it, like, lessened it by maybe, like, 50%. But even then, I would still be going to the bathroom, like, 8 times in a day.
So, really...
But only on my period.
Some people would call that a blessing in disguise, and that's a period cleanse.
A detox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a natural detox cycle of every time my uterus is kicking my ass, I pee-pee-poo-poo frequently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is definitely TMI, but whenever you have nothing left inside you, it's literally just like a foam. So that's cool.
I think I could kind of get that.
Yeah.
Because, like, maybe TMI, but, like, with the current medication I'm on giving me diarrhea, it like, hits a point to where... Okay, I'm going to be gross. So it'd be kind of like chocolate pudding or brownie batter for a while. And then...
Like wet cement.
Yeah. And, you know, there'd be occasional, like, more solid in there, but then it hit a point where, like you said, it's kind of foamy, and it's like, am I empty? This also comes at a time that, like, I'm being more mindful of what I'm eating because, you know, going to the doctor, it's like, yeah, you're kind of big, dude. And I was like, well, that doesn't help the issue of why I'm here, but
this just makes me feel bad.
Yeah, no, I'm sad. Take an extra antidepressant when I get home. But I approach empty more now because I'm trying to not eat the entire kitchen every day. So it's not been fun, the mix of the medication and trying to be healthy, because it's like, well, I'm trying to be healthy, but now my poops are weird. They've gotten better, but it's a toss-up.
Speaking of unhealthy things, I've never had one of the big, like, basically ice creamy coffee beverages that the chain offers, where it's like, okay, where's the coffee in this?
There's not much.
Yeah, like, I'm sure that there's probably someone that comes every single day and gets one of those. That is insane to me.
Yeah, it's particularly funny because this was a meme that I saw prior to, like, being in the trenches of working there, of, you know, somebody comes in and they want one of those drinks and it doesn't have coffee in it, and they say I need my ice cream drink to get my caffeine.
Yeah.
And it does not have any coffee.
So there's no caffeine in it.
No, it's just sugar.
Ugh.
And, you know, the one or two times that happened, I didn't have the heart to tell the person. I could not do it. It's just like, yep, you know. But yeah, there'd be people that would come in shortly after opening and get one. And it's like, it makes sense to me if that person is coming off of a night shift and they want a little treat, you know, when they're going home. But if it's somebody who's going into the office and they're getting one of those, it's like,
I would immediately crash after that. Like, after I cannot have super, super sugary things in the morning. Because if I eat that, then, like, an hour and a half later, I'm dead. Like, I want to take a nap and I feel so tired.
Because not only do those drinks have, like, the flavor syrup in them, they also have, like, this, it's essentially just a sugar base that allows it to be, to give it its texture, to give it that, like, creamy ice cream. Yeah. Because if you don't put that in there, it's just like a shitty slushy that you don't get the ice bits with the drink. You just get the liquid. And so you get the flavor syrup with the sugar, and then you get the sugar base. So respect to people that do it, but, you know, got to be careful because diabetes, you know?
What's your opinion on the flavored water craze?
I'm all in. Currently, right now, I have bubblies, and that it's like a strawberry sorbet bubbly or something. And I have Liquid Death Orange right now.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I love flavored water.
Cool.
Is that what you asked?
That's not what I'm talking about.
Oh.
You might not know. This is interesting to me.
Wow, I'm so sorry for going on that tangent.
Well, here's the thing. Okay. Like, you know, big dumb cup culture, right? Where people carry around big Stanley cups.
Oh, yes.
Which I am a victim of that. I do have a big Stanley cup, but it helps me stay hydrated. I don't know why. I want to drink water more out of it.
And you use less plastic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, mine's orange. But,
GBO.
yeah. They're playing Alabama today. Ugh. Anyway. What was I going to say? Oh, so there's a thing now. I think it started because of Mormon women.
This is not where I thought this was going to go. Okay.
It's flavored water. So, fun fact, Mormons cannot drink coffee. That is against their religion or whatever. But conveniently enough, Coca-Cola in like the 50s or 60s or something, they paid off the big dude in the Mormon church to be like, hey, make God have a vision that you guys can drink Coke now, so you can have soda, so we can sell things here. And he's like, bet. And then, conveniently enough, their people in religious authority were like, you can drink soda now. Go drink soda and buy it. Go forth and do that. And so, Mormons fuck with soda hardcore. Because that's the only place that they're getting caffeine. I don't even know if they're allowed to drink tea. They probably, I don't remember.
I mean, if it's the caffeine that's the drug part that they can't, I would assume tea is a no-go.
Yeah.
Unless it's herbal, you know.
But soda's fine. Because Coca-Cola. But anyway. So they really fuck with soda, like, hardcore. So much so that, like, you can go to a soda shop and it's basically like a coffee shop, but for Mormons. And you start with your soda base, and there's, like, 5 million flavor pumps. And you can just make, like, a custom soda. And it's kind of like Sonic on steroids. And they add, like, cream to it and candy and, like, all kinds of shit. And so they started doing that with water.
Like just regular water?
Just regular water.
Still water, not...
Yeah, still water. And they would just add a bunch of pumps of crap to it and all these flavor packets and making, like, fancy water, which is insanely sugary and bad for you. And these bitches are drinking it by, like, the gallon. And if you've never been on Water Talk...
Apparently not.
Oh, my God. It is fascinating and also disgusting and sad.
I was going to ask, where did you acquire this knowledge? Because...
TikTok.
That's...
TikTok is my window to the world. And I sit on that couch right there and I say, tisk, tisk. And then I keep scrolling.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I've never had what I would call a water talk water, because it's like multiple pumps of things, and as well as like a Crystal Light packet or, I mean, anything. And they're like, I'm so hydrated now.
Yeah.
I made my water fun.
So the soda shop kind of sounded badass. I'm not going to deny that.
I would fuck with that.
But just drink water, man. Like, that is why I like carbonated waters that are like flavored, like bubblies and liquid deaths, because flavor fatigue is a real thing. Water doesn't taste like shit most of the time. So it's like you can, at least me, I mean, everybody's different, but like after I've drank consistently 1-2 liters of water for a week, it's like I want something that tastes different. So now I'm drinking water and I'm drinking bubblies. No sugar in those. I mean, it's probably still not great for you. I don't know.
I guess maybe it has like aspartame in it.
Maybe, or natural fruit essence, whatever that is. Looking at you, LaCroix. Naturally essenced beverage. So that just sounds like a good way to spike your blood sugar to me.
We have coffee questions for you.
Ooh. Hit me with them.
Hit me with your best shot. Fire away. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, anytime. These make me want to do karaoke.
I understand. I'm about to cramp, so don't mind me.
Do you need anything?
No, sometimes when I
I
sit.
can bring you an ibuprofen.
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate you now.
Okay. We have a question from Corey Preston.
Uh-oh.
Who asks, fuck, marry, kill, AeroPress, Mocha Pot, and French press.
Okay, hold on. Fuck, marry, kill, AeroPress, French press, Mocha Pot.
Yeah. What are those? What's he talking about?
Okay, so
I told him I don't know what you're talking about, man.
So I'll talk a little bit about what each of those things are, and then I'll give my answer because I already have it. So an AeroPress is, this might give you an idea of how I'm going to answer. An AeroPress is like a cylindrical tube that it's technically two pieces. It's got a plunger, and it's got, I guess you can call it kind of a reservoir, where you put your coffee and you put the water and you let that steep for a little bit. It's like a immersion type of brewer, similar to a French press. Excuse me. And it's supposed to be something you can use to make a richer cup of coffee, because it mimics espresso the way it's made. Because for it to be espresso, there has to be a certain amount of pressure, and water temperature that's passing through the bed of coffee. So an AeroPress is a manual way of doing that. It doesn't make actual espresso because it doesn't have enough pressure, but it's a good tool to make a richer cup of coffee. A French press, it's just an immersion coffee brewer where you dump typically they're glass, and they look kind of like a beaker almost. And you put your coffee in the bottom, you pour your water into it, and you just let it sit for like anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes, depending on your actual brew method. And then it also has a plunger, and you plunge it after that time, and you can pour it. French presses make very bold cups of coffee, very full-bodied. A mocha pot is how you get probably the closest thing to espresso without having an espresso machine. I could be wrong on that, but a mocha pot is something that you use on like a stove, and it has 3 chambers. The bottom, which is where your water goes, the middle chamber, which is where your coffee lives, and then the top chamber, which is where, once the brewing actually starts, the water is sucked from the bottom chamber.
Is it one of those metal things that looks like an hourglass?
Yes.
Okay.
They're cool. They're also dangerous. They can explode.
It gives me South American vibes for some reason. Like, I feel like that's how people in South America make their coffee.
Oh.
I don't know. Or it
I
feels
can see
European.
That. Yeah.
Like, it feels not United States to me.
Kind of Italian to me.
Okay.
Which that might just be because one of the big brands has like an Italian sounding name.
And don't they use one in their imagery? And their colors are like red, yellow, and blue. I don't know. Anyway, I'm talking out my butt here.
It's okay.
I don't drink coffee at all.
It's been an honor. I have to leave.
Hey.
Are you Mormon?
No.
Okay.
Thank God I'm not Mormon.
Mitt Romney.
Whoa.
Was that? Is he the?
Yeah, we could have had a president that wore magic underwear.
Do you not have magic underwear?
I mean,
everybody has a pair of like lucky underwear.
I mean, some of my underwear is pretty old. Maybe I kept them around because they're lucky. I don't know. But anyway.
Anyway, fuck, marry, kill.
It sounds like you want to kill the mocha bot. Because you were unsure of it.
Yes. So, I would kill the mocha pot just because it is... I do like using them, but it's probably my least used method of making coffee. I would marry the French press because of how reliable they are. They do make good cups of coffee. I'm not a huge fan of them because of the end bit of coffee is gritty, because it doesn't, a French press doesn't get like the fines out when you plunge it. And I would fuck the AeroPress because it's a cylinder, and PP can go in cylinder. And the cylinder is smaller than a French press beaker, so we can make something happen there, you know?
It's all coming together.
Yeah.
I see.
That's a good question.
Thank you, Corey, for asking Corey that question.
Yes, thank you, Corey.
Thank you, other Corey.
If you disagree with me, I'm not coming over to your apartment again.
Oh my god. Well, in the same circle as Corey Preston lies a young man named Sam Starkey.
Oh god.
And Samuel Duncan Starkey has a question.
Okay.
Sorry to just dox you like that, Sam.
He'll be fine.
What is your daily coffee that you make at home? What beans and what method?
So, daily coffee, I'm very bad now. I don't make coffee every day anymore.
What the fuck?
I know. Mondays and Fridays I do because I work from home. Mm-hmm. But Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday I work in office. And I'm so bad about sleeping in till I need to get up and get ready for...
Me.
Yep. So I don't have time to make coffee because I don't make the time. But my go-to is brew method, V60 pour over. It's my favorite method.
360 no scope.
Yes, a perfect Modern Warfare 2 compilation off the top rope. But oh baby, a triple. The V60, I could, if that was in the lineup of fuck, marry, kill, I would fuck it and marry it.
Wow.
Just because I think, and some people who are more coffee heads than me might disagree, but I think it requires there's more room for error on the user's behalf with the V60 because there are other pour over methods like a Kalita Wave, which is easier to produce consistent coffee with because of the way it's designed. But a V60, you have more control as the person making the coffee to fuck up. So it's rewarding when you either consistently make coffee that tastes, the way the notes say on the bag, or if you just make a really good cup of coffee. I think the V60 is more rewarding in that way. So that's my brew method, is a V60, which is a cone-shaped pour over. And beans, I have been going to a coffee shop in Knoxville called Mahalo. And that's where I've been getting most of my beans as of late. And I always do light to medium roast. I'm not a dark roast fan. And I'm a big sucker for Ethiopian coffees. I like fruity coffees. Ethiopian natural coffees are referred to as fruit bombs a lot of the time. And I actually got a bag of light roasted Ethiopian beans from the farmers market that we have in Knoxville. It's a company called Memoirs Coffee. He has what he calls his blueberry bomb, which I've yet to extract the blueberry notes out of it. It still tastes good, and I can tell that it's supposed to be fruity, but I don't get the blueberry. But that's my go-to. I love light roast, especially Ethiopians. Guatemalans are good too. I'm talking about coffee.
That sounds weird.
I know. But yeah, those are my go-tos. Highly recommend V60 pour-overs. But, whatever brew method is effective for a person, I think if you're brewing your own coffee, however you do it.
I wish that I'd thought about this before you got here. I did the branding for Soulcraft. They have their own coffee brand now, where they're roasting their own beans and everything.
Nice.
And it's called Easy Tiger Coffee Roasters. And I did the branding for that, and I designed their bags and everything.
So that's badass.
Thanks.
And the reason I made that face is because how do they go from Soulcraft to Easy Tiger?
Yeah, I don't really remember her connection to a tiger, but that's what she wanted. And
okay.
It seems like all of the different, I guess you would say, flavors that they have. Roasts,
roast or origin, depending on.
Okay.
Because.
Well, all of their different roasts they've named potentially like locations in South America, or maybe some kind of Spanish word or something, because they went down there directly to some country and researched their beans and their methods and learned from the people,
That, to me, is really cool when a roaster or a coffee shop, they go to where they get their beans from, and they get to meet the farmers. And
yeah, that's what they did.
Yeah, that to me is super cool, and why I like specialty coffee, because that's where a lot of that happens.
Let me show you a picture.
I was going to say, let me see this.
First, here's the logo.
Oh, that's so badass.
Thank you.
Easy Tiger Coffee Roasters.
And then there's their bags.
Dude, those are sick.
Thank you.
I was scrolling the old. I'm gonna dead name the site because I hate Elon Musk. I was scrolling Twitter,
I have never called it X a day in my life until now.
I simply refuse.
That's stupid.
And it's because I disrespect him as a human being.
And you should.
Yeah, thank you.
Because he's dark MAGA. Did you see that picture of him jumping in the air behind Trump like he's 10?
I sure did.
Like he's the little boy on riding a bike saying, "Look at me."
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, continue. What were you saying?
I was just scrolling Twitter and someone had posted a picture of Sabrina Carpenter with Poppy. Which the only reason I know of Poppy is because she was featured on a song of one of the bands I like. And they called Sabrina Carpenter the queen of pop and Poppy the queen of metal. I disagree that Poppy's the queen of metal, though she does have some good vocals.
Who would you say is the queen of metal? Since you're so hardcore.
I'm the softest hardcore person you'll ever meet. Probably, like, if I were to give it to an older vocalist, I can't think of her name, but probably the girl who sings for Evanescence.
Oh yeah, Amy Lee?
Yes.
Yeah, she has a gorgeous voice, and she still does. They toured recently, and I saw on TikTok, like, she's still freaking bringing it. She has a beautiful voice.
Yeah, I think her as well as Evanescence as a whole was a very impactful, like, early metal band, especially as a woman-fronted metal band. If I were to give it to, like, a newer person, it's strictly just my opinion. I don't think... I'm sure some people out there in the world would agree with me, but I'd give it to Emma Boster. She is the lead singer for a band called Dying Wish, and she goes hard as fuck.
I think I know them.
They're kick-ass.
Do they have a song called Enemies in Red?
Maybe. I'm very bad with song names, and I'm very bad with lyrics. I'm the worst guy at a concert because I'll want to sing
You're
along.
Just there for the vibes.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that
I was wrong. I don't know this group. Oh wait, no, I do. Yeah.
they slay.
Anyway.
I think Emma Boster serves cunt.
Yes.
I love her. But yeah, I'd probably give it to Amy Lee of like probably all time, and that might just be because that was who I was exposed to growing up as a female fronted like metal band.
So you would consider Evanescence metal?
I think so. I think they fit under the umbrella.
Because I have another question from the audience.
Oh gosh.
From Samuel Duncan Starkey.
Uh-oh.
He asks, what is the difference between hardcore, heavy, and metal music?
So, I feel like I'm not a good person to ask this question. So, full disclosure, these are my opinions, the opinions of Corey Stafford. There might be some metalheads out there who are more qualified to give an answer than I, but I will give my answer. Hardcore is more rooted in like a DIY punk mentality, and that I think reflects a lot in the lyrical content of what the band sings about. And there is also kind of a sound to it, but when you talk about something like hardcore, you look at a band like, I'll go with one of the big ones, Terror, which they sound, like if a grandparent or a parent were to hear it, they'd probably call it screamo or something.
Just a bunch of toilet sounds.
Yeah. But then there's another band that's in the hardcore scene called Turnstile, and they sound kind of groovy to me. They do kind of like some yelly vocals, but two very distinct sounds, but they fall under the umbrella of hardcore. Ultimately, the reason for that is what's determined to be hardcore is up to the hardcore community. And, you know, there's this, from my understanding, because I don't think growing up where we grew up, I had a lot of exposure to the culture around hardcore. I think a lot of hardcore is related to like veganism, straight edge, kind of like counterculture type stuff. But then someone else might just call something like that metal. And I personally think metal is like the large umbrella, and hardcore falls somewhere under that umbrella. If we're talking strictly what could be called metal, I mean, something like Metallica, right? That I guess they would be kind of thrash metal if we want to get into subgenres. But I think a lot of the difference comes into the mentality and culture behind the people in those genres. Heavy music, I mean, I'm going to assume he's referring to heavy metal. I don't really have a good answer for that. To me, I don't think I've ever really used heavy metal as a descriptor. I guess heavy metal would be something like, as a comparison, like Metallica being OG metal, and then we fast forward in time to when nu metal hit the scene. Bands like Korn, Slipknot, they are arguably heavier than Metallica because of how much more aggressive their sounds are. So I think when we're talking about heavy, it's kind of like, do you make a stank face? Does it chug? You know, to me, I guess that's
Do it chug.
Do it chug is their China symbol. That to me is where heavy comes into play, but ultimately I think they're all a part of the same family. They're all under the umbrella, and the main difference is going to be culture around the genres, as well as there probably are general sounds within each genre that you could say, oh, this is more metal than hardcore, but I think it comes down to the culture behind those genres that really kind of make them. Bad answer from Corey Stafford. I'm not good at music. I like loud things.
Why do you think you connect so much to heavy music? Because you have such a dark and twisted mind.
Oh, yeah, bro. I'm so 3 edgy, 5 me, whatever. I think the reason I connect with heavy music and hardcore music is it kind of goes back to the day I was born.
On a day with no sun. It was raining.
It was October 7th at 7:27 a.m.
You're a 7 a.m. baby, too.
Yup.
Wow. We have so much in common.
You also love heavy music?
Sometimes.
I think it can be a mood, you know?
When did you find it?
So...
Where you were like, this is it. I love this.
I like to believe this is the case for most people, and I mean, I could be off base with this, but I think growing up, a lot of people listen to the music that their parents listen to. Mm-hmm. And for me, that was a lot of country, like George Strait, Kenny Chesney, and then like Keith Urban, all those fuckos. Because that's what my stepdad listened to, it's what my mom listened to. But then my dad turned on 103.5.
The River?
Is that what it's called?
I think so. Because 105.7 is The Hog.
I thought it was like WIMZ was 103.5.
I don't know. I don't remember.
The important part is that's where I got introduced, like AC/DC and Black Sabbath.
Divorced dad rock.
Yeah. Yeah, your good classic rock.
Butt rock. Nothing but rock.
My stepdad introduced me to that, and I was like, oh, this shit fucks.
How old were you?
Oh, yeah, I was probably like 7 or 8 or something. So, I had a mouth of a sailor. And we progressed from that to, like, I listened to Metallica a lot, because that shit ripped when I was younger. and it was probably around early middle school was when I started my transition from, like, classic rock, country, metal listener to full-blown metal, because I found Slipknot and Korn, and then, like, Fred Durst, Limp Bizkit.
Motherfucking chainsaw.
I'll skin your ass raw. The new metal scene, I know nothing of the scene, but I loved the music, and so that was when my adventure into heavy music and metal started. I listened to so much of that, and I think it resonated with me at that time because I felt / do still feel like the kind of, I don't know, the black sheep of my family. If it's not obvious, I'm not a very religious person. My family is religious. They have some beliefs that I don't share, and the metal scene kind of felt like that place for the people who don't necessarily fit in, whether that be in, like, a social group with, hard for that person to make friends, or whether that be with their family. And I think it is a very accepting scene, whether it's just metal or hardcore or whatever, and that appealed to me a lot. And as I went through high school, I got into a band called Stick to Your Guns, which is still one of my favorite bands. I don't listen to them as much these days just because I've kind of gotten an itch for stanky, like, greasy face music of want to punch a baby,
Uh-huh.
But I still love them and love all the things they stand for. So I got into them near the end of high school, and a lot of their music is about being understanding of the people around you and being accepting of the different people around you. And they do have some political songs as well, and a lot of those things resonated with me because I've always felt like it's the right thing to do to stand up for those, like, marginalized and underrepresented groups. Mm-hmm. I remember in middle school, I think it was like 8th grade, there was I think it was in a history class, but sat with a girl whose name I cannot remember in that class, and there were some of the redneck guys who were, like, making fun of gay people for some reason.
Because that was the thing to do.
Yeah, and it just, like, pissed me off, and I'm soft. I wasn't gonna be like, yo, bro, shut the fuck up and, like, try and fight. I was like, I'm leaving. I don't want to sit in here and listen to this. So I just walked out of the class, and I had to tell the teacher, I was like, that's wrong and bullshit. But the teachers were like, I hate gays too. So she's like, oh, this dude's probably gay as hell walking out of the class.
You can smell that smoke from a mile away.
I can tell by the way that he looks.
You said earlier that you're, like, the softest hardcore person, Honestly, I feel like that's a very common thing in the hardcore community. Like, everyone that I've met, especially, like, doing punk rock flea markets and stuff, mm-hmm. They're all so nice and so respectful of your time and, like, genuinely interested in, like, who you are, and very, like, naturally caring people, and they're very fiercely protective of things that they care about.
Yeah, I think that's...
Caring is hardcore.
Oh, 100%. I think... Not to be an astrology girly for a moment, but...
Are you a Scorpio?
No.
Okay.
Try again.
You kind of give that energy, though. You give autumnal. Are you a Libra?
Yes.
Okay.
I give what?
Autumnal.
What is that?
You know autumn?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Autumnal.
Autumn.
It's a descriptive word to say that something feels like fall. It feels like autumn. It's autumnal.
Oh, autumnal. The last bit of that word was throwing me off. I was like, no, like...
I'm not autistic.
The jury's out on that. We don't... I mean, it's possible. Yeah, no, I'm a Libra girly, and...
Which, I mean, you have that innate sense of fairness.
Right. That I'm not big into astrology. I don't think it's like something to necessarily live by. I think they're similar to like Myers-Briggs. Mm-hmm. I think it's a tool that people can use to kind of help understand themselves if that's something they want to seek.
Yeah.
And that is something about the Libra descriptors that I'm like, okay, fuck you, you know, because I do feel like something I care about is justice for, you know, I guess, like I said earlier, marginalized groups or underrepresented groups, or really just anybody who is kind of on the shit end of the stick, whether that be the LGBT, I'm just going to say LGBT plus community, whether it be, you know, migrants, whatever it may be. And I think that is why that music appealed to me so much, because it scratched that itch of like, oh, I'm so dark and edgy and I don't fit in with my family. But then getting to go to a show and seeing how accepting and nice people are, like you fall in a mosh pit, people are going to pick you up. It's like, okay, well, these are my people. That they care about people whether they know them or not, and they give a shit if, you know, the unfortunate part of liking this music is there are a lot of bad actors in the scene.
Yeah.
And that's something that people give a shit about, in that is it's probably not the best idea to give a platform to those people who are doing bad things. Like, I mean, a big one is like SA. That's a pretty common, unfortunately, thing that comes out about certain band members. But a lot of people in the community are quick to call that out and
cut ties.
Yeah. This is where I struggle, because I do still listen to the songs by them that got me into them. It's like, if they apologize and try to right their wrongs, should they be deplatformed? I don't know. That's something I struggle with as somebody in the scene who wants to do the right thing and stand up for the right thing. It's like, you ever played Modern Warfare 2 with a bunch of 14-year-olds? You know, should those 14-year-olds be deplatformed? But I guess the difference there is they were full-grown adults. Whether they're trying to be edgy or funny or not, it's still not acceptable.
They had a Morgan Wallen moment.
I don't know who Morgan Wallen is.
He's a country star. He's from Sneedville, Tennessee. And he said the N-word a lot. And he got called out. And then he started donating a bunch of money. People were like, okay, you're cool. Donating
to what?
He's donated about $500,000 to Helene survivors. So that's cool. And then before that, organizations for black people
nice.
of color. Yeah. Like,
okay. He did. I think that is a decent step to take.
Yeah. like, what is your opinion on separating art from the artist? Like, is that something that we're actually fully capable of doing? Or whenever someone does something, you know, like really unforgivable, like SA, like a P. Diddy situation, should we still be cranking P. Diddy?
So,
I still listen to Michael Jackson sometimes because his songs are so catchy.
Canceled.
I know.
This is such a hard question for me to answer because I struggle with it, and I know a lot of people have strong opinions about it, but I think it's more nuanced than just a black and white. I think...
I feel like it's incredibly situational.
Yeah, I think in the case, I think worst case is it comes out, they essayed someone. I think, and I'm going to talk strictly in examples of like bands because that's easier for me to wrap my head around. I think in that situation, it's probably best to not listen to the band with exceptions. I think music is important for a lot of people, and it helps a lot of people get through tough times, or it might, you know, help alleviate some pain that a person is feeling. And if they find out a member of said band did a horrible thing, there's going to be people who say you shouldn't listen to them because now you're supporting an abuser. That is a true statement. You are supporting an abuser if you're listening to them, unless there is something happening on the back end of that where that person no longer gets like royalties from streams, if that is even possible. But I think if that music meant so much to a person, I don't think they should be, you know, considered a bad person for still listening to that music.
Yeah. I agree with that.
And to me, that's kind of what it comes down to, of like, I've listened to so many different bands that, like, there are probably a top 5 that are really important to me, maybe top 10. But out of the hundreds of thousands of bands I've listened to, if it was like numbered 80 on that list has a terrible person in it, it's like, okay, well, I'm okay with not listening to this band even though I like that music. It didn't come at a time in my life where it helped me get through something necessarily.
Yeah. I think that it's really just part of the human experience to be let down by idols. Because at the end of the day, they're all still human. And just because they've reached this, you know, artist status and this artist title, it doesn't mean that they're infallible. Like,
right.
And I think that, I mean, I'm sure that there's hundreds of thousands of artists out there throughout history in every medium that have done horrible things. But it doesn't mean that they didn't contribute to the culture or, you know, like you're talking about, like, get someone through a really hard time in their life. And I think, honestly, to me, like, I feel like there's so much of ourselves and our own goals and our own desires that we put on artists that, you know, it's not them. It's not who they are. Like, we are constructing an idea in our heads of who they are and kind of, what's it called? What's that kind of, it's like a parasocial relationship.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, if you got something out of their music before, you can keep those memories and those ideas and ideals. Like, you can keep that and just kind of get rid of the rest.
Right.
Like, keep what works for you.
Yeah. And I agree with that. And
As someone who has worked for a mega super giant corporation conglomerate,
wow.
So one thing that Gen Z and Gen Alpha I've seen like a lot recently, like try to incorporate into like methods of resistance, is protesting these massive corporations who are either directly or indirectly like funding like the genocide in Palestine, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that protesting something that size is beneficial at all? Like, could you see that creating change in any form, or are they just too big?
Might just be jaded. But I do think if you are protesting and boycotting a company, it has to be a large enough amount of people doing the protest and boycott for it to make a difference. Because, for example, if there was a group of people that were boycotting the coffee shop that I worked for, odds are, you know, unless a gross amount of people joined in on that, there's still going to be so many people going through that line, that drive-through, that it's not really going to hurt their bottom line too much that a few thousand people, maybe even 100,000 of people aren't shopping there. Really wish it could make a difference, and I think that it can. You just need a lot of people to get on board for it.
Yeah.
Which is difficult.
This is a podcast for creatives and cool guys, if you hadn't noticed. I was wondering, when do you feel most creative? Also, did you used to write poetry? Do you still write poetry?
I did used to write poetry. So I'll answer poetry and then when I feel most creative. I used to write poetry quite a bit. I had a Tumblr blog that I would post my poems on.
Excellent.
Very edgy and emo poems. I went to, I think it was like a Roane County Writers Club or something that they held in the Kingston Library.
I went to that once. One time.
Do you remember when? Because it was like my senior year when I went.
I think it was my freshman year of high school. Because I won, not won, but I was one of the people in the school that placed in this like Roane County wide like writing, like short story competition.
Oh.
And Bill Landry from the Heartland series came to Roane State Community College and introduced all of us, and we read our stories aloud.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, and I went to that one thing because I think that the writers' workshop was, because that's what they're called, right? Then they were the ones that put it on, and so I went to one meeting and I realized that they were a bunch of old farts. And
yep.
I didn't want to be there.
Yep.
It was fun though. They gave around like little writing prompts, and we did a little exercise. Mine was Among the Giant Clover. And I immediately came up with a story about some prisoners being escorted to a like space jail on a planet where the vegetation is really big. And everyone looked at me like I was fucking stupid.
They're too old to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think, because I think I only went like maybe 2 or 3 times. I don't think we did any prompts because I remember the times I went, it was like everybody shared something they wrote from the previous week or whatever. And it was either the second or third time I went and I shared one of my poems, and one of the guys was like, "Do you ever write anything funny?" Because
okay, jerk.
I was writing like a bunch of sad stuff.
Aww.
And like, I thought it was funny he asked. I was like, no, I kind of just like writing about sad things. That's kind of my thing. as I whoosh my hair to the side because I had the emo Justin Bieber bowl. But yeah, I don't really write poetry anymore. I'll have moments where like I'm driving or I'm zoning out at work when I shouldn't be. And like I'll get an idea for a poem and like I'll have a few lines in my head and I'll be like, oh, I should write that down so I can like add to it later. And then I completely forget to write it down, forget what the thought was. But I do miss it sometimes. I think it kind of helped give some actual weight to emotions that I felt.
Yeah.
And I felt bad. This is going to be a little bit of a tangent. We had to write a poem for some English class. I think it was in 8th grade. Can't remember exactly what the assignment was, but...
Was it for Miss Kelsey?
Oh.
Was she the 8th grade English teacher?
I don't remember.
Anyway. Continue.
But I wrote this poem about My Chemical Romance or 3 Days Grace. It was a sad poem about my house and like how I didn't want to be there pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
And he's my stepdad, but I call him dad. I was saying stepdad to differentiate if I ended up talking about both during this. So my stepdad, found that poem after like I had moved out, and he told me that he would open it up and read it and cry from time to time because of like how I felt like that as a teenager. And I was like, I don't think it's good that you keep that.
But it's nice that he cares. And that
oh yeah,
he kept that. That's really significant.
Yeah, and I did end up taking it because like I didn't want him to hold on to that and like beat himself up over things that happen. I'm 29. Things that happen over 20-ish years ago. But with that being said, now I don't feel very creative anymore, other than those moments where I'll like have lines for a poem come to me out of nowhere, and then I don't act on it. But like I have been trying to do creative things in other ways. For a while there, I started trying to draw. I'm still terrible at it. I haven't done it in a bit, but I took an interest in streaming and wanting to try and edit videos. So I do that from time to time, and I try to do a relatively normal schedule.
So you're a streamer?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I haven't been very like public about it on like any of my personal socials, because I did make some socials for that, because I was like, I don't know, I feel kind of weird if people that know me tune in, they're like, oh, look at this fucking idiot playing a video game, stinky Dumbo.
I get that. I wouldn't do that. I'd say, go Corey, woohoo! Exclamation point, exclamation point.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And then I'd say, I know that guy!
Look, Ma, he's on the TV! It's something that's fun, and it's like kind of a hobby that makes sense since I do like to play games. It's like people make a living off of streaming themselves play games,
and you can sit and play and chit chat.
Yeah, like random people tune in, be like, "Oh, dude, you suck ass," and it's like, "I know, I'm sorry."
And you say, "Thank you," smile.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in. Please come back. Please watch me. But now I just get bullied.
Do you want to plug it?
You
don't have to if you don't want to, but
Nah, I mean,
if you want to.
I don't mind. I stream on twitch.tv under the name Aubreyson, which is ABRESAN, which is a username I got from, might get canceled for this one.
Oh.
I used to go on a forum website for a YouTuber.
A dangerous start.
Named Onision. The Onion Man himself.
Okay. Keep going.
Because I used to watch him before...
Before it went bad.
Yeah, before he turned out to be a huge piece of shit. And he had a website where, like, there was forums, you could chat with people, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool, I'll make an account. And I called myself Abreaction, which is... So, this is how dumb and edgy I was. I Googled sad psychology words, and...
That's really sweet.
And Abreaction was one of the first ones I saw because it was an A. It was near the top of the list. I was like, oh, that word sounds sick as shit. And it's similar to like a catharsis, but it's like a coming forth of emotions triggered by a negative event. And I was like, that's cool. That'll be my username, I guess. And there's a dude on that website who, like, always called me Aubreyson. And I was like, that's kind of cool. That's going to be my new username on things.
I love that, actually.
And, you know, thankfully I stopped watching Onion Man. And then it came out that he was a huge piece of doo-doo. And then my mom called me one day and she was like, do you watch Onision? And I was like...
No, mother.
No, I stopped watching that dude years ago.
Do you remember when I saw your mom on the news and I knew that it was your mom before I even knew her name?
What was it about? What?
There was flooding in town and she had to stop and turn her car around.
Right.
And they interviewed her and I saw her face. I said, Corey Stafford's mom. He came from her body.
They ripped me out of her tummy.
Yeah. What's her first name?
She goes by Nikki.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I was sitting on my granny's couch. She had WBIR on, and this woman pops up, and I go, "That's Corey's mom." And I text you immediately. I was like, "Is your mother's name Nikki?"
Oh.
I go, "Yeah." I go, "Your mom's on TV." You look exactly like her.
Damn, I forgot. I forgot all about her being on the news. her.
My dad got on the news because some guy forged his signature and tried to buy a boat. Yeah, I was like 6 when that happened, and I was there the whole time, like, watching in the background.
Oh, like while the cameras are on your dad.
It was really funny. It's like,
did you just look like a gremlin in the background?
He's here. No, I wasn't in the background at all. I was in the shot, rather. But I was,
okay.
like, standing in the kitchen, like, watching everything. But that's where I learned about forgeries. And so I started not taking my homework folder home from school because I would always forget it anyway because like my dad would have to sign it so that I could go to recess. So I just was like, if that guy can do it, I can too. And for significantly less money. And so I just started forging my dad's signature, and then like after like 4 weeks of doing that, I was getting away with it. And then my dad was the one, he was like, you know, you stopped bringing me your homework folder. Is that they're not doing that anymore? And I was like, well, you've been signing it. You just don't remember. And he was like, no, I haven't. And I said, well, okay, yeah, but, so I have been signing it for you, But, I get so bored in the car writer line that I, just started practicing your signature. And he was like, that is a horrible lie, but I respect you for the grind. He was like, he honestly sat me down. I was 7. He was like, that is a horrible lie that you just told me, but I respect you for being smart enough to think of a forgery. So I didn't get to play Kingdom Hearts 2 for 3 weeks after that.
He grounded you?
Yeah.
How's he gonna respect the grind but then still ground you?
And then it got to a point where it was just more convenient for him, so he just let me keep doing it.
You're grounded, but keep doing that.
Respect the hustle.
Yeah. That's so funny to me that he gets on the news because someone tried to use his name to buy a boat.
And I said, I can use this. Molly will remember this.
Sometimes it be your own family.
I won't try and buy a boat, though.
Can you still forge his signature really well?
Yep. Kids used to come to me at school because I have a really good cursive signature.
Oh.
And I did that for Lyric Rivera. I forged your parents' signature one time. Don't know if you remember that. Or if you're even out there. Probably not. But I did that for you. Anyway. Cassie Wise.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Of Wise Art and Designs asks, what's your favorite poem? Do you have one? Or do you have a favorite poet?
Neil Hilborn.
Who dat?
Tumblr core here for a moment. He had a poem that went around on Tumblr a lot back in circa 2014. That poem that went around on Tumblr was called OCD. It has the fart noise in the name, too.
No, you just have that SpongeBob accent. Whenever they go to the dark part of the ocean.
I can't
understand your accent.
I think
what was it? OCD?
Yes, that was the name of the poem that went around on Tumblr by Neil Hilborn. On socials, I believe he is Neelycorn.
That tracks.
Yeah. He's got my favorite poem is one by him because it's fucking sad. It's a poem about dude's dad leaving him and starting another family. Pause, because I got to find the name of it. It's my favorite, I just don't remember the name. He's also a spoken word poet. Which... I always wanted to do spoken word, but I never did.
You should try it sometime.
That requires being vulnerable to strangers.
I would come to open mic night or open mic night or something in Knoxville or wherever.
Perhaps I got to start writing poems again for that dream to.
Hey, so this is a cheesy thing to add, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
My friend Jesse Filateo passed away recently, 3 months ago now, back in July.
Mm-hmm.
And he had said the same thing. He said, man, I really want to try spoken word poetry. And he never did. So his ex-girlfriend went out to where he passed in Colorado at this bar he wanted to go, speak at.
Mm-hmm.
And did it for him.
Aw.
So that was cool.
That's sad.
You should do it, Corey. Do it.
Maybe I'll be vulnerable. We'll see. Also very sad about Jesse. I knew Jesse a little bit. Anyway, my favorite poem is called Amputation by Neil Hilborn. Check it out.
Okay. Check it out, Cassie.
Yes. There's a 2-minute, 41-second video of it, which is my recommendation. The title of the video is called Neil Hilborn amputation Rust Belt Poetry Slam 2011. There's another 3-minute version video where the audio is not as good. Don't watch that one.
Okay. You hear that? Don't do it. What's your favorite part about writing, you think? What do you get out of creative writing? Do you see poetry as kind of like a puzzle, or is it more free-flowing?
More free-flowing. Structured poets I respect. It ain't me. That requires too much thought, and like for me, it's more about the emotion and kind of getting it out. So in that sense, it's more like a surgery, because it's trying to find those words that stirred whatever feeling in me I want to convey or get out of my body and onto something tangible. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's what poetry had always been, was a way to physically interact with the feelings in my body.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Have you ever written like short stories or anything?
I used to dream about writing a book, and I started like 2 or 3. Not make it past like one chapter of any of those. It's a commitment. I wouldn't say short stories. I've prose, like that's just like paragraphs essentially, right? Like
I think so. I'm not entirely sure, but that sounds right.
I've done some stuff like that, but it really, my bread and butter and the thing I enjoyed the most was just writing poetry, really, which I'm not a big rhymer. I guess that's kind of the thing.
Hot coffee pot. William Shakespeare. You should pick it back up again. Next time you have an idea, write it down. Open that notes app, brother.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. I want to see what the last poetry thing I wrote in here was. I have a sausage ball recipe in here.
I love sausage balls.
Good God. That's from 2020. Yeah, the last thing I wrote down was back in 2020.
Well, now's the time.
Now's the time to start again.
Yeah.
I have a note in here. Feel free to scrap this if you'd like, but I just think it's worth sharing. I have a note in here from 2019 titled, "Don't Kill Yourself." And it is 5 paragraphs. I think I remember when I wrote that.
Is it just saying don't kill yourself over and over and over?
No. It was me being a pseudo philosopher, drunk at players, writing in my notes app. That's what this was.
That's the place to do it.
Oh yeah. When you're at a bar alone and you're drunk, it's like, man, this situation sure looks sad, but looks less sad if I write a note saying not to kill myself in my in my notes app on my phone.
Well, is there anything you want to share or plug or shout out?
Yeah. So if you know me and you want to follow me on socials, follow my new account. I made the new one for algorithm fixing purposes, and I have not gone through and followed everybody that I previously followed because I'm lazy. So if you want to take that burden off of me, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter as VoidGaz, VoidGaz. I wanted it to be Void Gaze, but that was taken.
Damn.
So I just dropped the E. So feel free to follow me there, and if I haven't followed you after making those. I apologize. It's not you. It's me. Again, I'm lazy. Also, if you like watching streamers and you want to check out what games I'm playing, feel free to check me out on Twitch. Username there is Aubrey-san. And yeah, I think those are the main things I can think to plug.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed.
Oh, I did. I had a great time. I thought you were going to say more, so I was waiting.
Just enjoyed in general.
Yes, I did. Apologies if this was way too scattered, and I'm apologizing to future Molly.
You should see my editing skills. I have a really nice program that turns the whole thing into a transcript, and that makes it very easy to edit.
I imagine, depending on how thick of an accent someone may have. Respect, because trying to edit videos, editing's a lot of work, so
It is.
kudos for the effort that you put in there.
No problem. Anyway, time to peace out. Bye.
Bye. This is me getting off the couch, going to my car.
Bye.
Goodbye.